Thank you so much. And great to be here from a very rainy, dark Detroit, but we're so happy to be in Detroit. We love it. It's real living, not that kind of living with sunshine and warm weather. Except if you're in the southern hemisphere, then of course you have, that's it's summer. But anyway, I'm going to avoid making any nidarim or anything, any oaths here. And as we're heading towards, not this past week, but this coming week, we're going to finish Masechet Nidarim. I'm going to do from Ayin Tet 79 to today's Daf, Pei Vav 86. And I am telling you, I'm still reeling from 78b, Ayin Chet Amud Bet, where we don't have to go again into the husband and the wife, and the husband can, nullify the wife's neder under certain circumstances. So I'm sure it's been dealt with a lot, the relationships between husband and wife. But I'm still reeling a little bit with Hashotek Almanat Lemikat Mayfair V'ad Yud Yamin, that on 78b, if you remember, that a husband can hold off. The wife makes a vow, she's angry, she's upset, she's whatever, and the husband, rather than right away disavowing that vow, by the way, I think that he waits. He says, "Oh, I'm gonna let her stew in her vow." And he can, if he has that in mind, that I'm not approving the vow, but I'm not mekayem it, but I'm not going to be mefer it. I'm not going to annul it. It can do up to 10 days. This is like an interesting relationship between a husband and wife. And, let me recommend, I'm just married for 25 years. I love people that are married 50 or 70 years, but, do it quickly. When you've done something wrong, admit it. Don't let things stew for 10 days, but the halacha is that you can. So I'm still reeling from that as we come into 79a, and interesting that you can kiyem bilibo kiyem. One of the concepts is if the husband says, yeah, I'm going to affirm the vow of my wife to avoid some kind of, to do some kind of inui, some kind of painful thing that my wife has taken on or is committed, not to doing. I am going to let that, I'm going to affirm that. He doesn't have to say it. It is affirmed. But Hayfair Bilibo, but if he says, no, I want to disavow, I want to annul that my wife has said, Hayfair Bilibo no mufar. If it's in the heart, it's not disavowed. And I think that that is there's something really significant about that really to build relationships, to do something really important, like annulling something like a relationship between a husband and wife. You can't just have it in your heart. You can't just, I love her, we love each other, it's in the heart, all that. No, you gotta express it. We have when it comes to declaration of the bikurim, when you bring the first fruits, Vihigadata, you have to say, you have to say it to God. Vihigadata levincha, you have to say things to your children. Don't keep things inside, things that are important to say. You can't keep it bilibo, you have to say it out loud. So that's on 79A. And then 79B, Aintet, really interesting that you can, when divorce is brought in here, that, Judaism, especially Masechet Nidarim, and a lot of what we're seeing, it's really, relationships can be tumultuous. And so marriage is an agreement, but it's not necessarily for life. And there's a lot of talk of divorce here, and the technicality that if it's beino lebeina, if it's just something that's just between the husband and wife, the husband can relieve her of that or nullify that vow that his wife takes. But if they get divorced, then it stands the rest of it, because he only could disavow the part that relates to the two of them. So it's really, we want couples to stay together happily forever, but not like some other religions, in the whole, you follow the royalty. I love the British royalty. It's always such a big deal about divorce. And then finally they allow for divorce. And then can you remarry and all that? This is like, divorce. And then it's a lot of talk about the husband divorcing the wife, and then she marries someone else, or she remarries him. I have to say that it's fascinating with, I don't want to say the name, but there's a great rabbi who's very well known he had a tumultuous relationship with his wife, and they got divorced and remarried and divorced, I think, a couple of times. So it's very real. And, maybe that's a healthy thing about Nidarim, about this tractate, that there is sort of, things are not always as smooth in married life, but I love on 80, this whole difference between a wife saying, I'm not going to wash today. Nivu l'chad yom lo shema nivu. Rabbi Yossi says, avoiding one day of showering is not disgusting. Now, when you have a teenager in the house, especially a boy, then sometimes not showering for one day really is terrible and evil. But the rabbis, and this is again 1500 years ago, they didn't think it was such a big deal. So, then they talk about not washing. If I wash today, that's not but then dirty water. But that gets us to 81 Pei Aleph, to talk about the importance of cleanliness. Again, I don't want to pick on the British, but I was in Oxford. Hi, Erica. So I was in Oxford, and we had Nebuch. I was in graduate school. But anyway, undergraduate, graduate, you have 8-week semester or terms, and then 6 weeks vacation. So you would go up. I think that's the term. You would go up to Oxford. And in the old days, you would shower before you went up. You went up for 8 weeks, and then you'd come home and you'd shower. And they didn't need any showers or baths or anything in Oxford. You go 8 weeks. So the rabbis are a little bit less. They're important to have clean clothes and a clean body. And then on 81, it talks so much. It's great about learning together, the erbuvia together, and the dynamic that comes from that. And then really interesting insight. That frequently thank you, Emily. Water rights and issues are definitely, I hope it rains a lot, but safely and all that. And they said even need 5 years of good rain to replace it. So we have to figure out how to have efficient showers. We in America, we love showering every day, twice a day, whatever, but we got to figure out how to do it in an environmentally friendly way. This really interesting question of or statement that a lot, and this is again, these are the rabbis in the Talmudic period, stating that Talmidei Chachamim, that brilliant scholars do not necessarily produce other brilliant scholar children. And we know, some families, it's incredible, the Soloveitchiks. I have my ordination from Rav Aaron Soloveitchik, and their kids are all Talmidei Chachamim, and their grandkids. It's just amazing. But and we're so excited that we have kids learning, a boy and a girl currently learning in yeshiva in Israel. But there is this statement that no, it shouldn't be just seen as a Yerusha. Just because you're a great scholar, your kids will be great scholars. Truth is, and it shouldn't be seen just as a Yerusha, just as passing something down, even though Torah is a legacy. I'm a libertarian. I just want people to be happy and to lead fulfilling, meaningful lives. I don't want to control the children. On the other hand, there's nothing more beautiful than when you're saying the Shema, you talk about teaching your children, and to have one of your child sitting next to you and to really feel it. That's a beautiful thing. But it shouldn't be taken for granted. And it seems like the rabbis of the Talmud were a little bit frustrated with that. And then we get into this whole idea of the importance of saying Birkat HaTorah, the blessing of the Torah before learning. I always, and there are all statements about the temple was destroyed because they didn't say Birkat HaTorah. What is the blessing of Torah? And I actually, I'm a little warm fuzzy on these things. I say that because Birkat HaTorah talks about, first of all, that it's the inheritance of everyone. And second of all, V'ha'arev na Hashem Elokeinu et divrei Toratecha, that we ask God to make the words of Torah sweet and beautiful. And whenever you hear people shouting nasty things in the name of Torah, or doing nasty things, I really feel, did they say Birkat HaTorah with kavana? Did they say the blessing over Torah in the morning with true intention? Because it's supposed to be ha'arev. Torah is supposed to always be pleasant. You have to be strong. You have to take strong stands sometimes, but do it in a pleasant way. So anyway, it's a little bit of advertisement for that, but it's right there about Birkat Torah. Beautiful idea on 81b. The pasuk says, "Lo yachel dvaro." Don't, you have to fulfill what you're saying. Don't demean or diminish what you say. Make it chuli, make it profane. Do not profane what you're saying. Mikan, but this is a different interpretation. Mikan lachacham she'eno matir nidrei atzmo. Here we see that even a chacham, even a big shot, Talmud chacham, wise person, you can't get out of the neder you make, out of the oath that you make. So if you make a vow, you need someone else to get you out of it. And this comes up a lot also when people are sick. You need people to pray for you. It's very hard to get yourself healed. Yes, there is an element, and actually it comes up a lot with leprosy, not here, with sarat, that you need to do a lot of self-reflection to get yourself out of a position of being a mitzorah, having spiritual leprosy. But you can't do it yourself. You need someone else, and you need someone else to get out of this rut of a vow. Also on 81 too, and we don't have to go into great details about that if a woman says, I don't want to have sex with you, my husband, well, it doesn't mean anything because she's obligated to have sex with her relations with her husband. But my kids don't like you. They're very pure. They don't like using the word sex. They say non-shomer. So sex education is non-shomer education. Okay, I'm a little bit more open-minded. But what the Gemara says is that, yes, a woman and a husband, they have this relationship. They have to give each other. By the way, the husband certainly has an obligation to give his wife sexual pleasure. But the wife can make an oath, I vow not to have pleasure from the sex. She can't make a vow not to have sex with her husband because, again, marriage is a contractual agreement that they will have relations. But she can vow, I am not going to get any pleasure from this. And then that's hard. Then they have to get her out of that vow. But so it's interesting. The rabbis, they were very sophisticated. They knew that there is sex and then there's pleasure from sex. And they're not necessarily the same thing, which is quite a very important point. And then 81a continues to deal with what is not getting this pleasure is from sex. Is it torture? Is it suffering? Or is it just a personal thing between beino veina? So we'll move away from this. There's a lot more to be said to this, but 82 starts talking about netula mimina Yehudim, certain vows where the husband can disavow part of her vow. It relates to him and his wife, but when she gets divorced, she carries on the rest of the vow because she is open to other person. On the other hand, on the one hand, there is a really a recognition that even though a woman and a man enter into a marital relationship and they're obligated to each other, They're still individual human beings. When I in Sheva Brachot, if you know the blessings after the 7 days after a man and woman get married, if one of them is getting married for the first time, so you do these 7 blessings and the Birkat Hamazon and the grace after meals afterwards, and it happens that you use 2 cups. One cup is for the Birkat Hamazon, for the grace after meals. The other cup is for the 7 blessings. And then what you do is you mix the cups, and then you give it to the bride and groom to drink from the wine that you said during these blessings. And I always like to say that you mix the cups because it's a couple that is sharing a life together, but each one gets their own cup. It's not like they share the cup. It's just a custom. It's not even it's a practice. But what I like to say is that they're still individuals. You are still you haven't given up your own self-identity by being married. You have to really feel that you can be the person you want to be. And therefore, when it comes to vows, sometimes the husband can only nullify the part of the vow sometimes when it involves the husband and wife. His little part is relating to her, and they're a big part of the life. But she's also an individual, and so if she gets divorced, then she carries some of this oath. On the other hand, if a woman makes a vow that Anati al Ploni, I will not get pleasure from so and so, Eino Yechola Hafer. So the husband can't really. That's kind of I'm a little awkward that I can't get. I don't want to give a name because we have 87 people on here, and someone might have the name. But Shmo Bagel ben Shmo Bagel, I will not get pleasure from them. Then the husband is sort of powerless to do it. But who is this Shmo Bagel? So it's brought up there, and there are these awkward moments in the Darim between relationship with the husband and wife. The 2 loaves of bread, on 82b, can the husband, if she commits, I'm not going to have these 2 loaves, or it's a neder, and but or we're not going to eat 2 loaves of bread. But can he remove both can say, no, I'm going to nullify that, both, but he's only allowed to nullify nidarim that are suffering and torture. So is it suffering just to eat 1 loaf of bread? Can he do just 1 loaf or not? And so that's what we looked at. And there's of course, a disagreement about that. 1 loaf, 2 loaves, do they go together? Can you chop it in half? Ein comes up later on 83. Ein is the Chatzaim, that once you relieve. So because the question is a Nazir, this person who vows not to have wine or grapes or grape products, or become impure to a dead person, or in contact with a dead person, or in the room with a dead person even. Some of that is suffering. And again, if it's suffering, then the husband can nullify his wife's oath. But other parts are not suffering, like to eat, not to eat the dregs of the grapes, like the pits. Everyone likes seedless grapes now. And so it's thank God. Baruch Hashem, whenever you worry, oi, things are going downhill. Well, at least seedless grapes. So, and pretty much seedless watermelons also, seedless bananas, all that. But the seeds are prohibited to a Nazir also, but that's not really suffering. No one wants to eat the seeds of the grape. So we say, no, it's a package deal. Now, what about interest? This is another on 83b, Tumat Met. Is it suffering? I thought this was a beautiful point, and they bring in Kohelet to make this point. Is it suffering not going to be with a dead body like that? Okay, I'm pretty happy to take that kind of oath, not to hang out with a dead body. But the wise prophet, and he made some mistakes, King Solomon, but he had a tremendous amount of wisdom. A living person, go to funerals, and be around dead, because then it'll be good for you. Then when 120 years, when you pass on, then people will come to your funeral. So it is suffering. To avoid going to funerals is suffering. And it's kind of a beautiful thing. Like we had a wonderful woman in my synagogue in Chicago. She was so sensitive. She couldn't go to the cemetery. She couldn't go to this, it was just too sad for her. It's tough. It's, it's a little bit, and I'm going to a shiva house and then something's awkward. And what do I say? What do I not say? But it's really important. So, and not being allowed to do that, and thing that a Nazir takes on is actually suffering. So there's a beautiful thought there. I love it. 83b, if a woman makes a vow regarding the briot, all people, I mean, just the question is so great. Baal, lav, bichlal, briot, is the husband considered part of people or not part of people? So has she committed herself not to get whatever pleasure or something from her husband also? I don't know. Do you think of your spouse as other people or something else? I don't know whether it's a good thing or a problematic thing, but I just love the question whether I would hope that your spouse is seen, but there's something beautiful here that maybe in a marital relationship your spouse is seen as something totally different from every other human being. I like that. So anyway, there's a discussion, and we saw that on 83b, and then on 84b. Oh my gosh, this is such a big thing. Tovat Hana'ah. It's fascinating. It's it's kind of like opportunity cost. It's maybe there's a better economic term for it. You have to give charity. You have to give to the poor, tithes to the poor, Maser Ani. You also give it to the Levite. You also give Truma, a lot of things. But you have the right to decide who to give it to, which Levite to give it to, which poor person to give it to. So that's called Tovat Hana'ah, and actually with a Levite and other tractates, it talks about the Levite has to hustle. You could say, if you wash my windows, then I'll give you your tithe, because otherwise I can give it to another Levite. So it's sort of a dance. Is this, first of all, are you allowed to get this from charity? Are you allowed to get, it's a great Curb Your Enthusiasm, if you like that show, but about sort of getting named, a named honor or anonymous honor. And if you get your name, which is a very prevalent Jewish tradition, plaque there, you're getting on a synagogue or in a museum or whatever, on a mikvah, you're getting pleasure that you get your name listed by giving charity. So, so it's a big deal, and it comes up a lot. And the Gemara on 84b tries to resolve it sort of that you have partial, some kind of charity to the poor you can get this sort of pleasure from, and other ones you can't. Is this Tovat Hana'ah? Is it even considered like money? And in the end of the day, we say, no, it's not money in the bank. It's a little bit of, it's nice to get this, but it's not, you can't consider it money. We'll go to 85. This is Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri in the Mishnah on 85a says that if a woman sort of says, I'm not going to follow what you say, but he doesn't matter so much what she says, but he says husband should disavow this, Shema yigar shena v'tihi asura alav, lest he divorce her, and then he will not be able to remarry her. So, I think these are tumultuous times, and the husband's a divorce, and then they want to remarry, and you want to make sure that you could put this together, this love relationship together. And so we have to really, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was really considering it and allowing husband to disavow a vow, nullify a vow that he wouldn't normally do it. And then when we get to 86a, We continue this whole concept of davar shelo bala olam, something that has not come into the world yet. Is that considered money? Can you trade it? Futures, really, it's really futures. And we do a lot of trading with futures, but they're very risky. But I love Rav Yosef, who says, Shani Konamo, when it comes to Nidarim, the concept of vows, we're always talking about something shelo bala olam that has not yet come out. It's futures. It's all about what I'm not going to get pleasure from or do in the future. So when it comes to vows, it's in the realm of that you can oser nami davar shelo bala olam. You can, futures are significant, are real, whereas in some other contexts, they're not. And 86, today's daf, deals with this regarding a field and the future fruit that you might get from the field. 86b is going to talk about the husband being confused. What was his wife's oath? And did I get the right thing? Did I disavow the right oath? A little bit of confusion. Next week, as we finish off this Masechta, we have laws of Kriya. We get into the laws of tearing. I tear for the wrong relative in mourning. You tear your clothes. How did I do it? Do the right relative that. So a lot of we jump from an oath to laws of tearing. We're going to talk about blind people, and we're going to learn about the city of refuge, blind people, as apply to people that are blind. Really interesting, if a woman gets married while she's under her oath of Nazir, she's a Nazarene, but she gets married, does the husband, is he able to disavow this even though he's coming in the middle? It's also a beautiful idea of individuality, that when you're marrying someone, you're marrying an individual who has so much behind them. And then towards the end, really interesting, a woman does not show azut panim, toughness or stubbornness, or wouldn't dare to be openly, disagree with her husband. I don't know. And these things hopefully change. And then we're going to end off this tractate, adultery, all sorts of other things come out at the end. So keep learning and keep finishing. And I think that's really, we have a couple, actually, we do have a couple of minutes. And I just think that this concept of Tovat Hana is really something to consider. I want to go back to it for 1 minute. Just the enjoying. You're allowed to enjoy doing kind deeds, and it touches also on mitzvot lav lehen. We have a concept of where was a mitzvah given to enjoy or not, and that's a discussion. I think that and in gen we say they were not given for enjoyment. On the other hand, we know that you're not allowed to learn a lot of Torah when you're a mourner, when you're in Shiva, or or Tisha B'Av, a day of mourning, because that gives you so much pleasure. So we do get pleasure from mitzvot, but that's not the purpose. And likewise, in this Tovat Hana'ah, you can get pleasure. You should get pleasure from doing the right thing. But it's not really, that's not the purpose of it. And I think we have to be careful to make sure that we are giving for the right reasons. We can get bonuses, we can get a coffee mug, or all these kind of things that you might get for giving to, especially public television. They're the ones originally with the umbrellas and all the things that used to give for public TV. So it's okay, but we got to really look inside of ourselves and make sure we're really giving for the right deal. Also, Jonathan, right? Nitzelnacht, whole different reason. Christmas Eve, not learning Torah. Okay, I think we're good. I think we've hit 10 o'clock.
Yes, thank you for giving us a review and a preview for what's to come. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Take care, and mazel tov on finishing, God willing, soon. Take care. Thanks so much, Mara. Good to see you.